Now a tornado warning has been issued. So let me get you the very latest on that warning. This is from the National Weather Service, and they're saying that this storm is moving northeast at 75 miles an hour. So the actual motion of this storm is highway speed. This thing is racing along to the northeast very, very fast at about 75 miles an hour. The storm capable of producing the tornado located 7 miles northeast of Coshada, or about 26 miles north of Natchitoches. And again, this storm is racing off to the northeast at a very high rate of speed. This is a radar indicated tornado right now, so no confirmation of a tornado actually on the ground, but definitely very concerning, this storm. I've been watching this one for a while, and I'm not surprised that there is a tornado warning on this, but let's just zoom in a little bit closer on this particular storm. And it's a pretty dangerous looking storm. So if you're in eastern sections of Red River Parish right now, out towards Martin, I want you to get in your safe space, get into an interior room, put as many walls between you and the outside as you can, because again, that's a pretty nasty looking cell. There's a rotation probably going to be right there here, right along Louisiana 155. So the town of Martin, the worst of it probably passing just south of Hall Summit. Ashland, I want you in your safe space because the potential tornado will be heading right towards you. Again, there's northern sections of Natchitoches Parish and also southern sections of Bienville Parish. Now let's look inside the storm and see if we can find where that rotation is. And there's actually a couple areas of potential rotation here. So this is kind of a bit of a complicated storm. You can see a couple of them, but there's a tighter little area of rotation just to the east of Coshada. That's the one I think is the most concerning. There might be another area of rotation near Martin. So a couple areas that we really need to watch pretty closely. So what I'm going to do is actually track this whole line, and we'll move that off to the northeast. So we'll kind of see what towns potentially could be in the path of this. So let me get back to our normal velocity or our normal radar picture, and then we'll kind of do a bit of a track on that. So again, the storm itself, the most dangerous part of the storm is actually making its way to the northeast. So we'll kind of track that in that general direction here, and you can see the towns that'll pop up there. So there we go. So this kind of gives you a general idea of the timing here. So the town of Martin, that'll be about 12:13. So you only got like 2 to 3 minutes to get into your safe space. So it's moving pretty fast. The town of Ashland at about 12:20. So again, not a ton of time here because the storm is moving pretty quickly. The town of Brown, we got Crowson, at 12:27, and then Lucky, and of course that's into central portions of Bienville Parish. But again, all along that line, we have the potential for some brief circulations to spin up and that potential for some damaging winds. So again, if you're just joining us, we do have a tornado warning. This is in effect until 12:30 tonight for eastern sections of Red River Parish here and southern sections of Bienville and also northern sections of Natchitoches. So I'm going to make this a little bit easier for you to see. What I'm going to do real quickly here is clear off the radar picture, and I want to show you exactly where that warning is. So we're going to get rid of the radar just for a second, and it kind of gives you a better visual of who is underneath this tornado warning. So if you're anywhere in that red polygon here, that is your tornado warning. So town of Lucky, Ashland, any towns here in southern sections of Bienville Parish, and again, just east of Coshada, northeastern sections of Red River, and also far northern sections of Natchitoches Parish underneath that tornado warning. Now, again, no confirmation, but definitely this storm, even if you don't get a tornado out of this, damaging wind going to be a big concern here. I've been watching this storm pretty closely now for a while. It says the rotational signature southeast of Coshada is weakening quickly now, so that's good. It looks like it kind of is, pulsed up and then weakening just a little bit. We got Jake Lambright in the house with me tonight as well. And let me just read the latest update here from the National Weather Service. They're going to keep that tornado warning in effect until 12:30 for southeastern Bienville, north central Natchitoches, east central Red River. And so again, really no big changes to this particular warning. However, based on the latest update from the National Weather Service, it looks like maybe that circulation has weakened just a touch. So what I want to do is actually go back over the last half an hour and kind of see, exactly how this thing developed and when they issued that warning. And we'll go back just a little bit. So there we go. So that was that circulation that was pretty strong there for a brief time. You can see that when we first came on air, that was a pretty tight little circulation, and that was the one they warned on just east of Coshada. You see a little bit of a couplet there where we had that tighter rotation. But as we get to the current time frame here, it looks like maybe it is weakened a little bit, although the radar scan might be slightly behind. The National Weather Service are waiting for a new scan to come in. That's where the circulation was, and that was just north of Highway 71 there. So again, that just crossed just east of 71. That's east of Coshada, and that continues to make its way off to the northeast. What I'm going to do is do a track on that particular area of rotation. I got to adjust the speed on this. According to this warning, the actual speed of this storm is 75 miles an hour. It seems a little fast to me. I'm going to tone that down just a little bit. I don't think it's moving quite that fast, but let me jump in here and just do a few adjustments real quickly. So this part of the storm would be, if there was a tornado, this is likely where it would be. So we'll kind of track that particular area. And okay, there's the update. Did you see how drastically that changed with the new scan? So let me kind of reset myself here. We'll kind of get rid of that track and look at that. What a difference in one radar scan. So I'll take you back just one radar scan ago. And this is what's so tricky about these types of storms, is that they can change that drastically. So a few minutes ago, we had that tight little circulation there, and then I want you to look at the latest scan that just came in. Look at that. Circulation looks like it's gone. So it might have briefly spun up, and now it is starting to weaken again. So if this weakening trend continues, we might actually send it back to normal programming. I'm going to stick with you, though, just a little bit longer and see if this thing kind of tightens up once again. But based on that new radar scan, it looks like that is not quite as strong as it once was. It looks like this might be more of a straight line wind event at this time. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
We got a quick update for you on that tornado warning. The National Weather Service just bringing out an update saying that there's a new circulation trying to reform within the existing warning box. So it looks like they might keep that warning going for a little while longer.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Jake's here right now, and he was saying that, yeah, so they're saying now a new circulation trying to reform near Martin or northeast of Coshada. So that's kind of what we're talking about. These circulations kind of spinning up, and then they kind of fall apart and they spin up again. So that's that area just to the east of Martin. This is just about ready to exit Red River Parish there. So that's going to exit Red River Parish and might move into northern sections of Natchitoches, maybe southern sections there of Bienville. Ashland, I want you in your safe space if you're in Ashland, because that's where that potential circulation would be heading if we do have a developing tornado. So let's get back to our regular radar picture here, and you can kind of see it's almost more of a bow echo, a little bit of a kink in the line. So let me kind of widen this. Definitely a damaging wind threat here. That's your kind of your bow echo on the south side. So damaging winds definitely going to be a concern. If you look really closely, you got to have a good eye for it. But if you look really closely, there's a little bit of a dropout in the heavier rainfall. You can see this right here, and this is likely a circulation that they're talking about. So you can see that just to the north and east of Martin. This is riding just along and north of Louisiana 155 and east of Louisiana 507. So it's, again, extreme northeastern sections of Red River Parish. It's going to kind of straddle that Natchitoches and Bienville Parish line right there. But I do believe that is the circulation that we're looking at. So let me track that particular area, because that's probably the spot. If there were to be a tornado, that is the most likely region. So let's track that off to the northeast. So that gets some more towns in the path here. So we're talking Ashland. You just got about, I would be prepared now, maybe 5 to 7 minutes in Ashland, but we're looking up into central sections of Bienville. So, if you're in Brown, 1226, Lucky at about 1233. And Bienville itself, kind of at the top of your screen there, this should pass just south of you, but it's going to be a close call about 1240. And again, this is really going to, I think, stay just north of Natchitoches Parish, moving more into portions of Bienville. But that would be right there where that potential tornado would be developing, and that's just to the north and east of Martin. Let me see if there's any more updates from the National Weather Service. Okay, so Jake, I'm glad you asked the question about that movement of the storm. So the movement of the storm is northeast about 35 to 40. That makes a lot more sense to me. So we're going to actually adjust. I'm going to adjust the speed on this just a bit, because that seems to make a lot more sense. So movement northeast at about 40, and that's kind of been the movement with these storms throughout much of the evening. It's been a general northeasterly movement at about 40 miles an hour, and actually it was slower earlier, but the storms are kind of speeding up just a little bit at this time. So let's see, let's go back into our velocity. And again, it doesn't look quite as tight as far as that circulation was when we first jumped on air a few minutes ago. but nonetheless, there's definitely something showing up, and I'll kind of circle this for you just to make it a little easier to see. But again, the area that we're watching is right there, so that's going to be the most favored region for potential tornado to form, and that's kind of riding right along Louisiana 155 that will be approaching Ashland here pretty soon. So if you are in Ashland, get to your safe space. I know most of you don't have that basement option, so get to an interior room. You just want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. You know, if you're in a bathroom, that's a good spot. Get in the bathtub because you got that deep plumbing that typically goes deeper into the ground, so bathtub is a safe space too to get, jump in the bathtub, get some pillows, some blankets to cover your head. That's a good spot too. And again, we don't have any confirmation. I haven't seen any damage reports. I haven't seen any, true confirmation of this, on the ground, but definitely we're seeing that circulation within the storm, and it is enough that the National Weather Service has prompted that tornado warning. So let me see. Let's go back to our normal radar picture. Really quickly, I just want to widen this picture out just a bit because there were some more storms off to the southwest. These ones down here, not quite as concerning, but the environment out ahead of all this, we're talking portions of Sabine Parish and up through Natchitoches Parish. This area is under that tornado watch until 4 a.m. And so this is kind of an untapped environment, meaning that we really haven't seen a lot of storms in this region so far. And so there's still quite a bit of energy for these storms to work with. So the concern is, as these continue to make their way to the east, we still have that severe threat. And this is going to last, I think, unfortunately, for several more hours deep into the night. But certainly the most concerning storm right now, obviously, is this one that does have the tornado warning. Let's see if we have any updates. Don't see anything yet. It looks like they're going to be typing something in that chat room here in just a second. But nonetheless, if you're in Bienville Parish, I want you to take shelter. If you're in northern sections of Natchitoches Parish, want to get in your safe space as well. And again, this whole line is kind of making its way to the northeast. So what I want to do is actually adjust the speed here again. Gonna kind of lower these speeds just a bit. And I just want to track this whole line because really anywhere along this line has that potential for some wind damage. So we'll track the whole line, getting some more towns in there. So just to kind of give you that early heads up here. So really anyone along this leading line, actually let me just adjust that, move that just a little bit this way so you can, there you go. So any of the towns that you see here, you need to take shelter because even though the tornadic circulation is right there, any location along this line could have the potential for damaging winds. So we're talking Ashland at about 1225. Lucky, of course, that's in Bienville Parish. That'll be about 1237. Goldana, 1246. Jonesboro, again, that's getting kind of outside of our viewing area, but if it does hold together that far, that'd be about 1 o'clock in the morning. So again, this is turning into kind of a late night, overnight event as we kind of expected. And the trend that we have been seeing as we head through the evening is that this whole line of storms has kind of slowed down a bit. Earlier we were hoping this would kind of get out of here by around this time, but obviously it is not. And this is kind of lingering much deeper into the night. So let me readjust that track because that just updated. And again, the storms are starting to speed up just a touch. It looks like with that new scan, at least visually, it doesn't look like that circulation might be quite as tight as it was. And yeah, it's just kind of ebbing and flowing. So we get one scan and it looks like it kind of tightens up, and then the next scan comes in, maybe weakening just a little bit. I don't want to jump the gun on that though, because it's definitely still a pretty strong storm, but you can see it's moved a pretty good distance since our last scan. So this is pretty much over Ashland now. So if you are watching me from Ashland, you should be in your safe space at this time, because if there's a tornado, it would pretty much be right on top of you. And let me get an update here from the National Weather Service. So this is kind of what we've been talking about. We call these QLCSs, and basically what that means is these are just brief circulations that are kind of spinning up along the leading edge of this line of storms. So as I've been talking to you about, this is what the National Weather Service is saying. The circulations are going to be very quick to form. They're all going to last for a short duration, and then they're going to kind of fall apart. So the Boeing segment northeast of Martin could drop a circulation, so they're going to, just as a precaution, they're going to continue this tornado warning, and I believe this goes until 12:30 a.m. So we're going to at least stick with you here till 12:30. If the warning gets extended, then of course we'll stay with you through that. But again, it's just kind of a tricky situation tonight. It's not, we're not seeing these individual supercells with these long track circulations. These are just brief brief circulations that'll pop up. And typically when you're in this type of situation, if a tornado were to form, it would be kind of on the weaker side, but even a weak tornado definitely can still cause problems. So take the warnings the same. You definitely want to take shelter regardless. Let's get back to our radar and kind of see how this is looking. And it really looks to me more like a damaging wind threat at this time, but again, along the leading edge, anywhere along, I'd say from Camp D all the way up into southern sections of Bienville, really anywhere along that line, we could see a brief circulation forming. And getting back to our velocity again, a few little areas of potential circulation, so we'll zoom in a little bit tighter. And the main concern that I have is this one near Ashland. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that once again. So if there was to be anything forming or some potential tornado, it would be near Ashland, and we'll kind of track that particular area off to the northeast. So if you're in any of these towns, go ahead and get to your safe space. The town of Friendship, that'll be about 12:44, so just about 20 minutes from now. Town of English at 12:52, and then of course Jonesboro outside the viewing area, but that would be arriving just before 1 a.m. So that's your circulation, and to be honest, it's probably even further down the road than this because the scan only comes through every so often, so this is probably already behind. So let's kind of do a new track on that. I'm thinking the circulation is probably a little bit farther to the east at this point, so this will be an updated track for you, and it does change that timing just a touch. And Friendship 12:39 and English 12:47 and the town of Jonesboro. Again, that does kind of shift that timing up just a little bit, 12:52. So that's the rough timing of when this potential area of rotation would come your way. But again, right now, this is Doppler indicated. Have had no confirmation of anything on the ground with this, thankfully, and hopefully that will remain the case as we head through the next couple minutes. But yeah, a lot of heavy rain, and that's going to be a big issue too. Don't try to go outside. If you get a tornado warning tonight, don't try to go out and see if you can visually see this because, of course, it's dark. We're getting heavy rain, and a lot of these circulations are happening so quickly that you might not even get a chance to see it. So just take our word for it. If you get a warning tonight, just get to your safe space to be on the safe side. And then quickly looking back off to the west, those wondering what's happening around Shreveport and Bossier, we're in the clear. So our threat is done. We're actually seeing the back edge of those showers making their way into northwest Louisiana. And this air here is stabilized, meaning that we've had a lot of rain. The temperatures have cooled off. So this part of our area not really dealing with much of a severe risk. You really got to get out ahead of these storms where that air is still relatively warm to see that risk. Do you see any updates over there, Jake?
Yes. There is an update on the tornado warning. They're going to let it go through 12:30. At the current moment, they're planning to extend it with a severe thunderstorm warning and the tornado possible tag.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, what Jake was saying, I don't know if his mic's on or not. If you guys can hear me back there, if you can turn his mic on too, that'd be awesome. But basically what Jake was saying is that, and I see it here, the severe thunderstorm warning is, so they're going to replace that with a severe thunderstorm warning. So they're going to keep that tornado warning going, as Jake was saying, until that expiration time at about 12:30. And then it looks like unless they see that circulation kind of tightening up again, they're just going to go with a severe thunderstorm warning instead. So that's good. Maybe that'll help. Maybe we'll see a diminishing trend in this. But the environment out ahead of these storms is still pretty favorable. So we got to keep a close eye on that. And eventually this will be moving out of our viewing area pretty quickly. So again, that's where the warning is right now. And again, that does include the far eastern sections of, well, this area is pretty much out of it. So this is the only spot we need to watch, really, southern Bienville and far northern sections of Natchitoches Parish. That's where we want to keep a close eye on, at least for a couple more minutes. Looking at the radar picture, it really looks to me more like a Boeing line segment, meaning that, damaging wind potential here. That could definitely be an issue. And if there were to be some sort of a circulation, it's probably already east of Ashland. And let me just zoom in a little bit closer here. So the town of Saline, I'd be in your safe space if you're along Louisiana 9, Louisiana 155. Those two locations, there's something here trying to still kind of wrap up, and you can really kind of see what I'm talking about. So that's just north of the Natchitoches Parish line there, just east of Ashland. And again, that's kind of cruising right along, let's see what roadway that is. That is Louisiana 155. and Louisiana 9, and that's just to the north and west of the town of Saline. So that's the area that I really be keeping a close eye on right now. Look at that. But see, every update, every radar update that we get completely changes our picture. So now a little bit more muddled. It doesn't look quite as organized potentially. Let me look to our velocity and see if we've seen any changes there. And as you can see, sometimes our the velocity with our radar is a little bit behind the scan for the, for the actual radar picture. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I do have an update on that actually, and if you'd like I could show you, but right now it looks like that area of rotation has pretty much completely fallen apart near Saline.
Okay.
Looks like that new severe thunderstorm warning just came down. It'll be running through 1:15.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Jake. So what Jake was saying is that it looks like that circulation has kind of fallen apart, which is great news. So they're replacing that with a severe thunderstorm warning. You can see that circulation has kind of fallen apart. So that being said, if you guys can hear me back in TMP chat, I think we're going to send it back to our normal programming for now. Of course, if we get more tornado warnings through the night, we will be here all night long keeping you guys safe. For now, though, back to normal programming. We'll keep an eye on that radar picture for you, and stay safe out there.
This is a KSLA First Alert Weather Day.